All right, it is time for another Found Footage Friday, the last Found Footage Friday of September, as a matter of fact. So I thought we would do something a little special, this one is, I guess, a lot of people are kind of talking about this one. That's kind of what brought it to my attention. This one is, it's one that I've seen fairly recently, and it's one that I've heard of fairly recently and checked out, but today we're going to be talking about the houses that October built and the houses that October built #2. So I'm mainly doing it just because I have this double pack. I got this off Amazon for real cheap. Plain and simple, not much to it. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the first one first, of course. So the first movie came out in 2014. It is directed by Bobby Rowe, and it stars Bobby Rowe, Zach Andrews, Brandy Schaefer, and Mikey Rowe. And and Jeff Larson. I apologize. That's another name in there. But so this movie is basically about it's about a group of, I guess you would say, influencers or documentary makers or whatever you want to call them, and they are traveling around America looking for an extreme, haunt, like a haunted house, like you would go to, around Halloween. And so they really kind of start off and they're just going to all these different ones, and you're seeing all this really cool footage of all these just different haunted house attractions in different parts of the country, and they just keep asking around for the most extreme and the most depraved haunted house experience and blah 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 blah. And so things kind of start getting a little kind of weird around them as they start digging a little bit further into this, and pretty much they come across this one haunted house called the Blue Skeleton, and it's this secret thing that you have to do all this stuff to kind of get initiated into or some shit like that. It's a very exclusive thing, and pretty much they end up getting there and they find it, and shit goes really south for them, and it wraps up there. So this first one, that's I don't want to spoil too much. That's just a basic kind of plot synopsis to this. So this movie starts out kind of slow in the way that you spend a lot of time. There's not a lot of horror going on, in the way that it really is just a lot of going to haunted houses and seeing the different haunted houses and the different scary attractions, the hay rides, the blah 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 blah, all this other stuff, and that is really cool, and I think it's a lot of fun. And that doesn't bother me, and especially because it builds up to, such a great climax. And that's actually why I think this makes a really good, Halloween time movie. That's why we're talking about it now, is because, again, getting into the spooky season. This is a good movie for around this time of year, because, I love going to haunted houses, and this one's just really neat because you get to see a lot of different, really, really creative and very interesting haunted houses. And then you do the scares and the creepy factor is kind of trickled in slowly, which I really like that, because you really don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know if any of it's real or fake. You don't know if they're if these people are really after them, or if they're really in danger, or what's going on. You're just kind of clueless to really kind of what's happening until it's too late, and you're right in the middle of it with these people, and you're like, oh damn, we really shouldn't have done this. So I really like that aspect of this first movie. I think the first movie is a lot of fun. I really like watching all the seeing all the different haunted house attractions, and you really get a lot of time to get attached to the characters and dislike some of the characters and like some of the other ones a little bit more, and all this other stuff, and feel bad for some of them, and so I really like that, and I really like the way it leaves off. I think this movie would have been great. The first one would have been great on its own. I don't think that it really needed a sequel necessarily. But we got one anyway. But I'll get there in just a second. But this movie, like I said, it's a lot of fun. It's a good little found footage movie. It's very kind of a modern day, of course, modern day type YouTube kind of documentary feels to it, so it's a lot of fun to see something like that, because it's very relatable to, it feels like something that you'd watch on YouTube right now, that you could be watching better than this. But anyway, and it kind of gave me a a Grave Encounters kind of vibe, where it's the same way, where it's like on that in that movie. That's a good movie, by the way. We'll talk about those. Excuse me. We'll talk about those at some point. But it kind of gave me that vibe where it's like, it's that kind of documentary that and the stuff in that documentary that you've always wanted to see happen, like the shit go wrong, and I think that makes it a lot of fun. So The House is October Built, I'll give that one, let's see, I'll give this one a 3.5 out of 5, because it's not just amazing, but I do enjoy it just fine, and I think it's a great, Halloween time film. I think it fits in, it'd be a good one to go to a haunted house and then come home and put this one on, kind of like I said with the fun house, go to the fair and then come home and check that one out. But this one right here, it's a good one to do that, or watch it before you go to a haunted house, and then then you'll be on edge the whole time. You won't know if it's real or fake. Ooh, but yeah. So The House is October Built. That's a good one. I enjoyed that one. But so let me start off. Let me just rephrase this, because me and my wife talked about this. The House is October Built Part 2. So I didn't feel like it needed a sequel personally. My wife enjoyed it, and I kind of enjoyed it for the most part. Some parts of it anyway. I'll get into that more in depth in just a minute. But this one is, again, stars Bobby Rowe and directed by Bobby Rowe and the rest of that same cast from the first movie. This one came out in 2017, so just a few years later after the first one. So my main issue with this movie is, I don't want to spoil, too much, more than I already have anyway, but I don't want to spoil, how this one ends exactly, but the thing I have to say is how this one begins. It picks up right after this one left off, but where this one begins, it basically erases the events of the first movie completely. So you're and it adds a safety net, to the whole film. And so from there, from the very beginning, we are basically going through a rehash of the first movie. In a way, it's different locations and it's different haunted houses. Different. It's not the blue. It's not the blue skeleton. It's the hellbent that they're trying to find in this one. But it's, again, basically the same plot. Going around the country in an RV, going to different haunted houses. Except this time they're being paid, so that makes it different. So it again is just kind of a rehash of the first movie, but it has that safety net. So anytime that something scary or creepy happens or tries to kind of lean in, because again, this one does just like the first one. It's very slow. There's you don't get a lot of stuff. Not as much stuff trickled in even as the first movie. Whereas I thought this one was going to be really intense. I thought maybe they were going to start out and we were going to see them break out, or whatever, and we're going to go into a whole different thing than what actually happened. But it just goes into this rehashing, and like I said, it has a big safety net around it. So the whole time you don't even really, you don't expect them to be in danger, because in technically they weren't in danger in the last movie. But so that really bothered me about this movie, that whole premise. But there is a part at the end, I will say, again, I'm not going to spoil exactly what happens, but there is a part at the end where they wrap it up at the end of the haunted house, the Hellbent haunted house that they go to, that I really enjoyed, and I really liked it, and I wish it would have cut off right then and there, and that they would have ended it right there as the way that they did it. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But the end of this movie, if you made it that far, I really like the way that they almost ended it. But then they do the little rewind thing and they give us a different ending, and more of a see, I told you not to fuck with me kind of an ending, and I didn't really like that, just because I personally don't mind a bummer ending. I think it's more impactful sometimes, and it definitely would have been more impactful in this movie if they would have went with the bummer, like the oh shit, I really didn't see that coming. Like if they would have just left off there, to me, that personally would have saved the whole movie, because it would have brought a lot of stuff kind of back together. But they didn't do that. They gave us something else. However, it was clever, but it was not really what I personally wanted. I thought they should have just ended it right where they did, and that would have been perfectly fine. But again, they wrap it up in a big old safety net, and that's the biggest complaint I can give about this one. If not, if not for that, I just wish they would have done something different. I wish it wouldn't have been just a rehash of the first movie, because the first movie was great, and maybe that's why they, maybe that's why they just redid it, kind of like they've done with several sequels. But just so close together, that's another thing that really bothers me about it. Is, I mean, it literally came out just a few years later, like 3 years later, and they're doing same kind of basic plot. And I know that I said, earlier I said something about Grave Encounters. I also like Grave Encounters 2, even though that one's kind of a rehash of the first movie. But I like them both, and I feel like those movies both kind of stand apart, in a way, much more than these movies do. I think that these movies honestly feel like, one long. I guess that they would be okay if they were just one long movie. If it was just one big thing, if it was edited together, kind of like they did with, Never Hike Alone, which we talked about here a while back. Excuse me. If they would have done something like that, I think that would have been a lot better. But it's just, it is what it is. We have these two movies. So, I'm going to give this one a pretty low rating. This one is going to be probably, let's see. I'm going to give this one like a 1.5 out of 5, which is oh my goodness, it's my lowest rating I think I've ever given on this channel. Just because this one genuinely did kind of just, like, bleh, it just, you know what, I'm feeling nice. Because it's the sequel. We're getting into the month of October. Again, last Friday of October, or of September, I'm sorry. So we're getting into October. I'll give this one a 2 out of 5, just because the potential ending saved it, and I'm giving it a little bit of grace. But the first movie definitely is great. That's where it's at. I honestly think if you're going to watch these, or watch this, just watch this one, on its own. I think that it's perfectly fine where it is. I don't think that it needed a sequel necessarily, but if you are just feeling like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm drifting all over the place here. But if you're feeling like you just happen to need a sequel, to it, and you just want to see more haunted houses, then check out the sequel too. Because I think, that's the main thing, is if you're just wanting to see, if you like these characters and you're wanting to just see them go through more haunted houses, then sure, that's fine. But for me, it's not where it was at for me. The first one was what's up, so sorry about my shoddy camera work there. I was checking my phone over here, but anyway, so that does it for this Found Footage Friday. You will probably hear this movie come up again pretty soon in a particular list, because like I said, we're getting into the spooky season, so stay tuned for that. I'm not going to give away what that is quite yet, but you'll see. And like I said, just so don't be surprised if you hear, not this one so much, but if you hear this one come up again, it may be in a little list that I'm making for you guys. So we'll see what that is whenever we come down to it. And anyway, you guys have a great day. That is the Houses October Built Part 1 and Part 2. And check them out. Check the first one out, or both, or whatever you want to do. I'm fine with it. You're still welcome here. Anyway, have a great day. Goodbye.